All right, so now we'll try again. Okay, this is for anybody who wasn't here. Okay, so sorry for the late start. It's okay this time because we're not too pressed for time. I believe that this will go fairly quickly. All right, so what I wanted to do, since we're going to spend a week I've set aside for doing review, we might as well review something real rather than me just going back and looking at, say, I guess I could just skim through the slides really quickly, but I don't think that's really effective. Instead, what I'm going to do is I've given you access to the fall 2025 midterm. That should show up in your lab section. If it hasn't, please contact your lab instructor and say, please put that so we have access to it. Maybe they're waiting for their lab period, but it should be done sooner. I've asked them to do it. Okay, so what I'm going to do today is I'll pick the first half. Okay, which is going to be the MCQs, and this was a real exercise from last time. The only thing which I forgot to do is I meant to pull up which questions people had actually gotten really wrong, because that could be really interesting. So if you give me just a couple of seconds, I can pull up a section from last time and I can talk about them as we go, if there's anything interesting that shows up. Okay, so I would want section 16. Quizzes, midterm, no, not that one. This exam, deferred exam, final exam. Earth is his midterm. There's the midterm. Okay. All right, statistics. Okay, so I guess first thing is that's what the distribution looked like last time. Kind of flat. Okay, there was at least a few people that were higher, but mostly it was pretty flat. The average about 60%. It's pretty typical, actually, of the course. That is often how it looks. So what I try to do is I try to make it so that people are more prepared to be able to answer these things. So what I'll do is I'll pop up a couple of them as we go so we can figure out which ones were really causing the trouble. All right, so what we'll do is I will go through each of these. I might need some scrap paper, so give me a second while I have some scrap paper available. Okay, so here we go. I'll pop up some scrap paper, and if we have to, I know that isn't really fair because you can't do this on the test, but there might be a couple of times where I might want to pop the copy over to the interpreter, just so you can show like exactly why something is happening, or maybe why something isn't happening. All right, so let's go off and see if we can pick this up. All right, so first of all, the exam is set up on 2 pages. Okay, because obviously the second part is going to be the programming part, and you probably want an IDE so you can actually test your code. There's always some debate about whether or not we should do that or just make you do it without testing. Don't worry, at the moment, the people who say yes have the access to the IDE, that is fair. All right, but of course, obviously I can't give you access to an IDE if I'm asking you what's the output of this program. So that's the reason why it shows up in 2 pages. If you click on this next page, you'll be brought to the next page, and you are not coming back to this first page again. So when you get to the exam, don't just click on next page immediately. Sometimes that happens. That does not work out well for anybody. Okay, if it happens right up front, we'll probably reset it. If it happens after 20 minutes, we'll say, yeah, sorry, we can't get you back the answers. So just keep in mind. So that means that all the questions are here, okay, which means scrolling. I prefer it be page by page, but I don't have that as an option. All right, so what we'll do is we'll just work through. I don't know if this is being scrambled. Maybe it's a different order and I tried it earlier. All right, so let's work through this one. What's the output of the following program? Now, I suppose I could have put these into a Kahoot and asked all these questions, but instead I don't want you to do it. I'd rather work through this to say, okay, look, this is what I'm thinking, and I can even say this is what the question is asking. Okay, so what do I see in here that could be of interest? What do you think I'm actually testing at this point? I would say it probably has something to do with the default parameters. Because quite often students will think that if you say b is equal to 3, it will always be 3 no matter what gets passed in. But remember, a default value here, or sorry, a default parameter is only if the argument's not passed in. All right, so all of these things, by the way, these are usually not trace questions where you grab a piece of paper and start tracing out the values. I try to avoid those. There might be one or two that are similar to it, but generally, kind of get an idea about what do you think is being asked. Okay, so what I'm doing is it looks like I'm calling a function, I'm getting a result, and I'm printing it. Okay, pretty simple. That's what we're doing. So let's take a look. You see, I'm going to call, and eventually, of course, the other thing that's really important is that's the only output is first, second, and third. Well, I'm going to ask the question, what's the value of first? 1. Will it ever possibly be anything different? No. Okay, so immediately you know that this answer's out. So if you want to go the approach where let's try to eliminate things, that's definitely not it. So it could be this one, or maybe it's this one because he's kind of tricking you. All right, second thing, second. Okay, well, second is also 1. All right, yeah. But unfortunately, that doesn't eliminate anything. Okay, we've only got the first one is definitely gone. All right, so let's see what we do. So we make a call first. Okay, so we call function. There should never be syntax errors in this, by the way. If there is, probably ignore it unless one of the answers is syntax error. But I mean, you can double check with the instructor. But generally, we don't put surprise syntax into these things. We got enough problems already. All right, so we call first, which means that, or sorry, we call fun. So here we go, we jump up here and we need to know the question, what's the value of A? So when you make the call, so it's you do line number 5, then 6, then 7. 7 jumps up the question, or sorry, line number 1. The value of A is 1, guaranteed. Okay, and the value of B? 3, because it wasn't passed in. Okay, and of course that's not a problem because it says there's second option, type error, fun, missing 1 positional argument. If I didn't have a default value, that would be the case. Okay, but it's not that. So we know it's down to one of 2 things. All right, so we have a 1 and a 3. Excellent. You add them together and you get yourself a 5. Oh, it's 4. No. See what we do right here is we just modified the value A, and then now it's a 5. Now it's a 5 plus a 3, which is 8. All right, and of course, that's the thing that gets returned. That's the value there. All right, but you see, sometimes I include things like this because people might get this impression saying that, oh, well, you can't modify a parameter. You see where that comes from? Yeah, that is true. You can't modify. Modifying A does not modify first. And that's actually why this number right here is here. In case somebody said, oh, I know, we're modifying A, so we must be modifying first. That's exactly why the number happens to be there. All right, so there we go. That's the first one. Okay, question number 2, what's the output of this program? All right, well, for this one, okay, we got a loop, okay. What are we doing? We're going through and we're summing a bunch of things. All right, yeah, you could try doing this line by line, but really you're just summing up a bunch of values. Values is in a loop. We just need to figure out what the values happen to be. Okay, so on the piece of scrap paper, if we were to print it instead of using total plus equals value, like if I was to put a print statement, here, go away. Let's make that stay away. All right, if I was to put a print statement on line 3 instead of a total is equal to total plus value, what's the first number we would see? 3, good. Second number? 5. Oh, sorry, 5, and then 7. Any more? No, okay, good. All right, so if we're instead of printing them, we simply add them together. Okay, 3 plus 5 is 8, and 8 plus 7 is 15. Yes, there will be a calculator in case you're unfamiliar with this. All right, so yeah, we think this is here. Now, something that's very, very important, by the way, is the incorrect answers. Okay, I didn't know what these things were called until I started using a lot of MCQs. The incorrect answers are called distractors. And what they are, these are the things that students might think are true if they don't really understand. Like, for example, if you were to accidentally include the 9, what is that? Well, if you were to add all these numbers up, what do you get? 24. Now you know why the number 24 is there. Okay, there's going to be a bunch of other numbers. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, what does that add up to? Oh, now you know why the number 33 is there. Yeah, so please keep this in mind. Sometimes people will say, oh, it's trick questions. No, the question is very straightforward, but yeah, all of the answers, if you don't know what's going on, these also exist because these are the common things that I know that students have problems with. And then the number 12, it's hard to say why I picked the number 12, maybe 3 plus 9 or something. Sometimes it's tough to pick out a fourth one. All right, so just, as I say, just keep this in mind because this type of stuff does happen. All right, so this one right here, what have we got? Oh, it's another loop. Okay, we've got an array, or sorry, a list. It's a list, it's Python. We have a list of prices. Somebody's going through each of the prices and they're looking for prices that are divisible by 10. All right, so there's one, there's one, there's one. So there's 3 of them that are easily divisible by 10. Okay, usually if I'm doing division stuff, it's very simple. Divide by 2, even odd, that's easy. Divide by 3, maybe. Divide by 5 is not bad because 5s and 0s, and divide by 10. I usually don't ask for other weird things. All right, and what are we doing with those numbers that are divisible by 10? It looks like we're adding 1 to them. Okay, and then of course we print it at the end. So the immediate assumption might be, okay, well, okay, this one right here, 45, 21, 11, and 41. What do you think?
No.
Why not?
That doesn't work.
Because it doesn't work. Yeah, okay, so, yeah, when you're using a for-value loop, the value that comes out cannot be modified like this. Okay, it completely ignores it. It's because P is an integer. Integers are immutable. If it was a list, it's a completely different story. Now, that would be an interesting thing. If I had a list in here and said append, oh yeah, then it happens. Okay, but because it's an immutable item, then it means that, yeah, you know, we end up never actually changing anything, so the number just stays exactly the same, so it's going to be this one. Okay, but the other items are there because people will fall into that trap saying, okay, I think this is going to be the result. Okay, next one up. Okay, maybe we'll look through the, what do we have over here? Okay, yeah, we can bring these up one at a time, but it's not going to be, oh, it's not going to be in the right order. Sorry, just give me a second. I know, it's this one here. Okay, excellent. It'll be in a slightly different order, but that's fine. I'll bring up and I'll show you the distribution of what happened last time. Okay, all right, but that'll be afterwards. All right, so we have an array, or sorry, a list. Apologies, I keep saying array, it's the wrong course. All right, we have a list with a bunch of values. We do something to the list and we print it, and the idea is that we want to see 5, 8, 7, 2, 12. 5, 8, 7, 2, 12. In other words, they did something to get rid of this. Okay, so let's go through in each one. All right, first of all, is there a remove operation? There is a remove operation in a list. However, what's kind of strange about the remove operation? No, it doesn't have anything to do with the index. There you go. It's the first one. Good. And this is pretty clear that they removed the second one, not the first one. So that's out. All right, we have something called pop. Okay, so pop, of course, will also get rid of something, but as a parameter, it takes the index. So you'd be talking about removing element at position 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's going to blow up because that index doesn't exist. All right. Delete? Doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. All right, pop 4? Yeah, that's the one. Okay, that's the one. That's the one that actually removes something at a particular location. Now, I suppose I could have made that really, really nasty. I could have made it a multi-select. And I could have had all of these, and people may have started to guess at the other ones. The good news is I tend not to do this on midterms, okay, or finals, okay, because you're under enough time stress already. Okay, so there we go. All right, what's the output of this one? Okay, classic problem here. Somebody's got a // with a negative value. I actually did this one. It's one of the examples I know I do in the first week or so. All right, so first of all, what does // do?
Integer division.
No, it's not called integer division. It's called floor division, which means that you calculate and you go down to the next largest value, next largest integer. All right, so you take A, which is 5. Forget the minus for a second. 5 divided by 4 is normally like a number like 1.25. Oh, sorry, not normally like, but it is the number 1.25. All right, so if it had been positive, no problem. The floor just below is a 1. Okay, all right, good. But because it's negative, it becomes negative 1.25. So which integer is just below negative 1.25?
-2.
Negative 2, very good. So, is it a float or is it an int? Yeah, it's always an integer. Okay, you can run a quick check of this one. All right. Okay, next one up. What's the output of this program? Okay, 2 indirections. Okay, that's kind of cool. All right, data, we've got an array full of numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I should have picked different numbers, but there's a reason why they got picked. All right, so first of all, what's the value of POS after I execute this? 3. Okay, so remember 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's fine, 3. And then, let's see, we take POS, which is 3, and we ask for the data at position 3.
4.
Yeah, it's a 4. All right, yeah, the distractor pretty simple. I just included almost all the values. All right, because sometimes people will look and they'll say, okay, it's data at 2, and they'll go for the 3, and they won't look that they actually does a second lookup. Okay, we're making short time of this anyway. All right, so this one here, this is probably one of the trickier problems. Okay, I guess if there's like one, it's okay, as long as there's not too many of them. It's not too bad for time. All right, so first of all, get a layout about what's going on. Okay, we've got this message. We've got something called a result, which starts as empty. We're trying to print the result. Okay, good. We seem to be going through and we're building up the result. Oh, when you see message at IDX, it means we're building it up 1 character at a time. So really the question is just what string did we end up doing, or is it an infinite loop? Because that's an option. All right, so first question is it an infinite loop? Okay, that's definitely a finite value. It starts at 1, it increases each time, it never goes down, it's always incremented. So I think it's safe to say it's not an infinite loop. Okay, so because I do see it going up each time. All right, we've also got, of course, an extra piece of pane in here, which says if IDX is bigger than 2, continue. Okay, so of course you have to understand what continue means. So continue means you basically ignore this piece right here and you carry on with the rest of the loop. Okay, you just ignore it. But because it's incrementing here, it happens before. Okay. If I were to move this line to after the continue, now you got yourself an infinite loop. See, I can make a brand new problem. Just change this around. Brand new problem, hardly any work. Didn't have to change the answers. You have to check the which one was correct or incorrect. Sometimes I do stuff like this on deferreds, by the way. Because sometimes people will have, oh, I know the answers because my friend took a picture of it. Yeah, but when you get there, you see exactly the same program, but it's being modified a little bit. So I recommend that if you end up writing a deferred, don't take a picture, or sorry, don't get a friend's picture and say, yeah, now I know the answer, because usually you'll be disappointed. All right, but in any case, here we go. Now we just have to trace through. Okay, I suspect probably the easiest way is to write down over here, after I log in again. Okay, good, here we go. Let me hit the right button this time. At least I didn't shut it down. All right, so let's have a result. There we go, that's my result. All right, let's work through it. Okay, IDX is equal to 1. Okay, well, IDX is less than the length of the message. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, there's 8 characters. That sounds like a real drag. 8 times through the loop? Maybe we can pick up a pattern. All right, so the very first thing I do, so first of all, is 1 less than 8? Yes, it is, so let's go inside. IDX used to be 1, but when I hit line number 5, now it becomes 2. All right, good. So is IDX bigger than 2? No, okay, so what I will do is result will become a message at position number 2. So what is in position number 2?
F.
F. Okay, do we need to continue?
We got that too.
Do I need to even continue any further? Take a look at the options. Is there anything else that starts with an F? No. Okay, so we're done. I mean, if you want to, we will continue. Okay, maybe you're concerned that it's an infinite loop, but we've already got a pretty good understanding that it is not an infinite loop. All right, so let's go back up. IDX is equal to 2. IDX goes up by 1. It's now 3. Okay, is 3 bigger than 2? Yes, it is. So I continue. So what I do is I skip back up and I ask, is 3 less than 8? Yes, it is. So I come in here and now it becomes 4, and I ask the question, is 4, do I need to continue now? No. Okay. But you see, I even saved you. So it looks complex, but it actually wasn't. There was actually only one answer. Now, if I had put something else with an F in here, yeah, that would end up making things a little bit longer, because then you would have to actually check the items. But no, we managed to kind of solve that one quickly. Sometimes there are tricks like this. I mean, don't look for it always, but sometimes there are things like this. Okay, there you go. So there's a hint, clear removes all items. Good, so if you have a list and you said list.clear, that'll get rid of everything. But of course I didn't put that question on here. All right, but it may have been helpful. Maybe I could have said something like pop takes an index as a parameter. Sometimes you might find hints hiding like this because it may have helped you with something else, but you'd have to understand that it was a hint. It doesn't always happen. Let's call it an Easter egg. Okay, this one was not helpful. All right, so what do we need to do here? We need to figure out, it's just string slicing. Okay, string slicing. Message from 0 to 8. How many characters is that? Sure. We better pop this over. Okay, here we go. Print message :8. Okay, how many characters did we see? Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, yeah, there is 8 characters. You can see it at the end when I highlight it. Yeah, it's 8 because it starts at 0. Yeah, I know it only includes characters 0 to 7, but that's 8 characters. Okay, so that's at least decent. Okay, and so I'm going to take this, so it's going to be clear with a space, and it's also going to be the last 5 characters. So how many characters are the last 5 characters? 5, good. So we have 8 and 5, if you add those together. Okay, there you go. Okay, but of course the other ones were here just in case somebody thought that these were missing, or maybe they miscounted thinking it was only 7 because it goes from 0 to 7. Yeah, these are why they're here. All right, so question 9. Okay, so we got a function call again. Okay, good. What's the weird thing going on? In fact, it actually looks pretty similar to the last time, doesn't it? Yeah, I said first is equal to 3. Oh, so we're modifying first, or are we? Yeah, this was a discussion about the concept of variable scoping for functions, about whether or not something is a local variable or a global variable. Okay, and we came to the conclusion, just through some experiments, that if you try to read a global variable inside a function, you have access to it. If I tried to print first, I would definitely be able to see the value 3. But unfortunately, when you try to modify a global variable without the keyword global, it just gets treated like a local variable. So this is really a local variable. Even though there's a name out here with the same, it's not global because it doesn't have the word global defined. So if we said global first and then first is equal to 3, yes, it changes. All right, so what do? We end up calling, okay, no weird name parameters or anything, no default values. You simply pass in first and second, 1 and 2. Okay, we change we change first to be 3, but that's a local variable, which means at the end of the function, that variable goes away. All right, we then calculate 1 plus 2, which 1 plus 2 is 3. So 3 becomes third. So here we go. That's still 1, that's still 2, and that is 3, and isn't that nice? It's 1, 2, 3 for first, second, and third. Okay. However, if I had included the word global first, then it would have been 3, 2, 3. And I also included this one because we ended up with a, maybe somebody thought, okay, by changing first, you're really changing A, and you're adding the 3 and the 2 together. That's the reason why that exists. And of course, this one also exists because, well, maybe somebody said, well, no, first isn't defined, but of course, well, it doesn't matter if it's defined or not. We're actually defining it right here. We're just creating variables as normal. Okay. How are we doing? Okay, good. Yeah, good. Yeah, we'll actually be finished early, which is nice, and we'll save the programming for next time. It's a different mindset, and I know I don't have enough time to do them, so I'll wait till next time. All right, so here we go. What's the output of the following program? Okay, obviously something to do with nested lists. Okay, let's take a look at what's happening. Somebody has a bunch of sales. Okay, let's see. It's not a rectangular list. It's a ragged list. The first has 3 items. The second has 2 items. The third has 4 items. Could result in a problem. And somebody set up a total. Good. They're going through and printing out the totals, or they're calculating a total. Let's not worry about what would be calculated. Let's worry about what gets displayed if I turn it into a print. So just pretend it says print for right now until you get your scrap paper stuff worked out. Okay, so I'll just mark down over here. So pretend line number 9 is a print sales at II. Okay, so first of all, what's the values of I? Okay, pretty simple. I will end up going through the values 0, 1, 2, but not 3. Okay, that'll be important. All right, so now I'm going to ask. So remember what I've got is I've got sales, and I'm going to be asking for sales 00, sales 11, and sales 22. That's what we're going to be printing. Okay, so what is there a value in sales 00, and what is it? 40. Okay, good. Sales 11, does it exist?
Yes.
Yeah, and what's the value? 5. Good. And sales 22? 0. Okay, so now you just have to add those numbers together. 45. Okay, and here we go. So why do the other numbers exist? I had to pick up some random things, but this is probably the one that a lot of people jumped at, thinking that, oh, it's an out-of-bounds index. Yeah, just obviously be careful with that one, but we'll see how people did. All right, next one up. What's the output of this program? Oh, same thing, same list. But the question is, what's the length of sales? 3. That's because this list is a list of lists, and inside there are 3 lists. That's what you're asking for when you ask for the length of sales. Yeah, there are 3. Why did I include some other numbers? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now you know why that number exists, because sometimes people get it into their mind saying, oh, well, maybe it's counting everything. No, it's not that. Maybe people are thinking that we're looking for the smallest list or the longest list. That's why the numbers exist. Okay, oh, hey, we're pretty much finished. All right, good. So what's the output of the following program? Okay, so an update. All right, so again, start to get an idea about, okay, what's set up here. Okay, we're calling a function, we're calling a function, that's no problem. We're calling a function update prices, we're passing in prices, and then we're gonna print prices afterwards. What I'm asking here is, I want to know, does the student know whether or not prices gets updated? And if it does, what does it get updated to? Okay, that's the real question here. Does it stay the same? Does it get modified? Or is there something else weird going on? Okay, when you call a function and you pass in a list, remember that lists are mutable items, which means that if you do anything to the list inside, you're really doing this to the main list outside. Okay, they're unlike integers, they're unlike strings, they're unlike tuples, but lists work like this. Dictionaries and sets also work the same way, but they're out of scope for the test, but lists definitely do. All right, so what are we doing inside here? Well, we seem to be going through all of the indexes. Now, I hope you remember from the labs and even from the lectures, you have 2 ways of iterating through items. You have a for value loop, which we saw before, like for G in grades or for P in price. That was covered earlier. When you do that, if you modify P, you can't change it. You don't actually change the list. On the other hand, iterating through using indexes allows you to change. So yes, there is a chance that this will change. Okay? And what am I doing? Oh, I'm doing exactly the same thing as the other problem. I'm looking for numbers that are divisible by 10, but this time, because now I'm using an index, yes, this will actually change. Okay, so that changes here. The thing that I kind of I regret doing afterwards is I should have made the problem just a little bit different. And I'll modify it afterwards to show you what I probably should have done. All right, so the question is does price change? And the answer is yes, price changes. Does prices change? Because that's what we're printing is prices. And the answer is yes, it does, because it's a mutable item, and when you pass a mutable item as a parameter, you modify the parameter, you're modifying the actual value outside in the main program. Okay, so yes, this one will actually make a change. Now, so as I say, maybe it's a regret in looking at this. Here's what I may have considered to do, because this would have actually provided even better what I call discriminators, and that is I should have put print price, and then I could have asked what gets displayed. All right, so answer number 1. Okay, so option A, exactly. I would have put that as an option. All right, option B, what would have I put? I would have put this, this, and this. Option C, I would have put this number and this number. Option D, and you can see what I'm doing, right? Every option, if you don't understand, you might be tempted to say, I think it might be that. But what these tests need to do is needs to find out, does the student know that it is this? Okay, that's why a lot of these questions will have things that are very similar to each other. What would I have to do with this one? Maybe I'd flip the thing around. Okay, yeah, that's probably exactly it. I would take this one, and I would take this and I'd flip it over this way. Okay, there you go. Now there's like your worst case scenario, right? Because they all look feasible unless you understand what's going on, and that's the whole reason for these things. Okay, so just to let you know, this is what MCQs that are well designed tend to look like. Okay, so it isn't like what's the output of this? Here's one answer, the other answer is 42, the next answer is purple, and the other is I don't know, computer or laptop or something. Yeah, sorry, you won't get questions like this. All right, so there we go, MCQs. Now, for fun, let me pull up the list, and I'll show you how the students did last semester on these questions. Okay, so I will ask you to ask yourself a question. You don't have to tell me about how many of these do you think you would have gotten right on a test. Okay, you know the answer to this yourself. Like, yeah, I knew that one, or, oh, I didn't know that one because it was surprising. All right, so to give you some ideas, these would be the same questions. And what it is, it's the number of, the percentages of people who got it correct. So we would have thought that adding the two things together would have been very simple. But it turns out, no, a lot of people went for 12. Why? Probably for the comment that somebody said the first one's only 7. Okay, that's probably why. I don't know what people were thinking, but this ends up happening. Okay, this was not too bad, but a lot of people thought an infinite loop. Okay, don't fall for anything that says error unless it really is. Sometimes if I'm stuck on a distractor, I will put some kind of an error, but sometimes that is actually the right answer. Okay, so just keep that in mind. All right, let's take a look at this one. All right, good. That's not bad. But a few people did say pop 7 was going to be the one, so and of course now you know. All right, this one here, no problem. Everybody's understood the basic concept of iterating through a for loop and a range. That's good. Not bad on this one. People know that it wasn't a global, so they didn't change, so that's good. This one right here, also people seem to know that it was, most people ended up getting it, so that's also helpful. This one right here. Well, now you know the problem. A lot of people ended up going for it's -1 because, of course, you learn the truncation, but of course, it's that weird business with a minus. Okay, now, to be honest, is this a piece of code that I use often? No, I don't think I've ever taken negative values and tried to do floor division on it. Okay, however, it is something that sometimes it does happen because of a mistake, and you have to understand why it's happening. So it still is a valid question, even though it's not something you'd write ever, but it is kind of important. All right, this one right here, yeah, a lot of people thought that you could modify the array using a for-value loop. Yeah, you can't. You need the for index in order to do it. All right, here you go. Here's the for index. Most people seem to have gotten that one. All right, this one here. Okay, a couple of people just went for the wrong value. That's easy. That's kind of understandable. Although, I mean, a third of the people ended up going for the wrong value. This one here, okay, obviously no issue with this one. Everybody's learned that the length of the list is the number of lists inside, so that's good. And this one right here, again, a lot of people went for the index out of bounds range, and I think it's because they saw that the second list only had 2 items. If I was to switch the second list into the third list, again, it's another problem. Okay, it's a very subtle change, but it would end up generating an index out of bounds range. All right, so there you go. There's the comment. So if you say that no, things were obvious, okay, good. But I can let you know that some people didn't quite have the same way. All right, next thing up. So yeah, I think we're going to be done really well. I've got one extra thing I'd like to do as a small experiment. Don't worry, it's not a Kahoot. Okay, and that is, somebody will always ask, hey, do you have any extra questions that we can practice on? It's a fair question, okay, and I wish we did. So I'll show you how to get the questions from a very good friend, ChatGPT. All right, but you have to be very careful, because if you were to go to ChatGPT, give me a second. I'm going to pop this open as an incognito window because I don't want to mess up other things that I've got in my own account. Okay, so if you go in and say, hey, I've got a Python midterm, and say this, I need some MCQs for a Python test, it'll give you a whole bunch. But it'll start asking really bizarre questions like, what's the correct file extension for Python files? Guess what? I don't ask those. Ever. Have you ever seen anything like this? No. Which keyword is used to define a function? Yeah, again, I don't ask questions like this. Why don't I ask questions like this? I don't ask questions like this because it's actually not part of the course. Okay, so I have to explain to you how courses are actually put together. I think this is very important. I think it's important to understand how courses are put together, and you can use the same technique for your other courses as well. Okay. This is the course syllabus. This tells you what's going to happen. Now, unfortunately, I've discovered a problem already. I've already made note of it for next time, and I can point out exactly what we've got. All right, when you study for a test, do you look at this? Okay, good. Okay, what do you look at it? You probably look at it from the topics point of view just before the midterm, and that's good, but there's something really, really important. It's right here. It's called the course learning outcomes. Okay, let me explain how these work, and you can use this approach across all of your other courses. All right, what these are things that are supposed to be tested for the students. So these are the things we're supposed to assess. And when you see something like the word apply, it means that you can do something. If you see the word state or list, that means that you can recite something from memory. Do you see anything that looks like you memorize things here? Now, that doesn't mean that you don't memorize things in this course, because you still need to know, yes, it's def that makes one of these. You need to know how to spell if and while and how they work, but that's not going to be the assessment. There will not be questions about that. There will be questions about this instead. So let me see if I can grab these. There we go. Let me copy these. Okay, and let me pop open this, and I'm going to start writing a prompt, which is, by the way, how you talk to ChatGPT. All right, so what you say is you say, I have a midterm coming in a programming course about Python. Okay, Python, it'll figure that out. The CLOs are as follows. Okay, there you go. However, which CLOs? Because that becomes really important. All right, so I'm going to ask you a question. Have we seen anything about explain fundamental searching and sorting techniques? Not yet. It's coming, but it's not yet. Have we seen anything about basic I/O operations, including exception handling? No. All right, so those are out of scope. Now, here's a problem. It actually says on the midterm that we're supposed to assess it, but obviously we don't, okay? I apologize that the syllabus is not correct. I've made note and said, hey, we got to fix this. And the solution is not to try and cover I/O and exceptions and searching and sorting. It's to get rid of it. But those X's shouldn't be there. Check your own syllabus for other courses. This one I just discovered. All right, so what we can do is we can say this. The CLOs to be assessed are as follows. Okay, now we have some other stuff. Topics include. All right, so the topics. Now, we do have these topics right here. I find that they're not really well written, but down here, this is not bad. Okay, so what we will do is let's grab the things that we know for sure are going to be here. Okay, what do you think? Too much? Yeah, because we don't have tuples and sets, but we do have up to nested lists. Okay, copy, and bang. Okay, there you go. Okay, yeah, you can feed all this in. We'll even try it to see how it goes. All right. The next thing is you need to say, okay, give me, whatever number, start small because you don't want to generate 100 questions that are garbage. Start with something really small. Look at 5. If it looks like it's decent enough. Very challenging MCQs. As soon as I can type this, MCQs that meet the CLO cognitive levels. Very important to say this, okay, for the topics listed. All right. The next thing is kind of subjective, okay. That's very difficult, and this is the thing where ChatGPT does not do a very good job at. Okay, so trust me, because guess what? Have I ever used ChatGPT to generate some MCQ questions? Sometimes I get stuck and I say, hey, give me an idea for something. Does it give me something that I use directly? Almost never. Because often the distractors are too obvious. Okay, again, it'll be just like completely obvious. So yes, I do use it. Some instructors use it too because sometimes I review exams from other instructors and I go, whoa, I can tell that's ChatGPT generated because the distractors are kind of weak. They're not really good questions. Okay, give plausible distractors. All right, what you do is you try it and then you try to adjust it. Okay, so let's go back. I've refreshed. I'm just, again, using incognito mode so it's not messing up with my own stuff. And it goes off and it says, ooh, I forgot something really important. Okay, so here we go. And it goes off and it says, yes, I can do this. Unfortunately, what it does is it also gives you the answers right away. Okay, don't do that. Add one extra statement to say, don't give me the answers until I ask for them. Because you already know, looking at something and seeing the answer, that's easy. Looking at something to get the answer, that's hard. And if you always see the answer, you'll say, yeah, of course I knew that. No, ask it not to give it. And then when you're finished, say, were the answers A, B, C? Okay, and then it will tell you, no, it wasn't. And it might even tell you why, which is really, really good. All right, now there's some things in here, you see, common traps. Remember what I said about the plausible distractors. Maybe a student thinks that a quotation 5 is equal to 5. Maybe they think 10 is 10, or 10 is bigger than 10, or maybe they were expecting a type error, and that's the reason why they included these types of things. Okay, so yeah, these are not bad. Would I use these directly? Probably not directly. I'd probably still need to do some more work on them. Okay, but sometimes it gives me ideas, and I'll be honest, I use it sometimes to get some ideas. And then you say, no, for this. And by the way, I also use it, I will take the questions and I'll go back to it and I'll say, have I picked the wrong CLO, and it'll say yes or no. Have I made it too long? And sometimes it comes back and says, yeah, you know what, that's going to take somebody 8 minutes, which is way too long for an MCQ. Okay, and be in comfort that I do stuff like this, and I actually do run it through and say, yeah, this is it. But there you go. That's the type of thing. Okay, so true story. My daughter was looking for some ChatGPT generated stuff. She says, no, they're all miserable. I said, take the CLOs, put it in, and ask it to generate this way. Her comment was, it made a tremendous difference, because the questions actually showed up where you had to say, ooh, okay, I really got to work at these. So just make sure to include the CLOs, and use this across all your courses, by the way, not just 1201. Okay, so if nothing else, at least I can show you how to get through your other courses. Use this style, because hopefully the instructor's not asking for even more difficult stuff. They're not supposed to, but you don't want to understudy. Okay, you don't want to study just memorization and then suddenly be shocked and say, oh, now I've got to analyze some kind of a case situation. Ask it to generate stuff. Use ChatGPT to help you this way, not to give you answers. Answers the questions. Remember, it's not going to be there on Saturday or Friday. Friday is the day now. Okay, so that's the thing. So, well, it shouldn't be there. If it is, please hand your phone over. We'll figure it out, don't worry. All right, so yeah, here we go, 34, 10 minutes early. Yeah, it's fine. It's not enough time to get started on the programming. We'll do the programming next time. If you take a look inside a document called Past Problems for the Midterm, I've also included some AI prompts in there to give you even more questions. So please generate those things. And again, same thing, tell it not to answer you, but then you give it the program, you say, okay, was this correct? That's a really good way. Or if you get completely stuck, give it back and say, look, I'm stuck on this, what happened? And maybe it'll give you some ideas about how to get through to the next part. Okay? All right, that's it for the day.